Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a raven with acrylic paints. It's a very easy painting, a lot easier than it might look, and we'll be doing some fun techniques that we haven't tried before with the splattering and the streaking using straws, so it should be a lot of fun. Great family project. I've got my husband Mark with me tonight.
Hey there, everybody.
So let's get started. Okay, so if you've got any questions during the live show, you can pose those to Mark and he'll get those to me. If you are watching later, thank you for joining us. And if you're new to our channel, we hope that you'll subscribe. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, all that good stuff. This is my example painting. I did this on my Strathmore mixed media pad. I've got the link down in the description if you want to grab one of those. I use it for all of my projects that I'm doing my example paintings. Works really well to try out paintings, and it doesn't cost a lot. So if you mess up, you can just go to the next page. Oops, sorry about that. Let's set that aside there. And I'm going to be using a gesso board tonight. It's a MDF board. You could use a canvas, any size that you'd like. This one's 9 by 12, and I'll show you how to size up your project if you want to. Let's go over the brushes really quick. We're not going to be using very many tonight. I've got a number 8 bright, so kind of about a 3/4 inch bright, a 3/8 inch angle, a kind of medium sized filbert, about I'd say that's maybe 3/8 inch also. Yep. And then this one's a small round, and that's just for the beak and the eyes details. If you want to simplify this project, you can leave out the eye details. So we'll be painting it in as a silhouette first, and then, so if you're doing this with kids, I would probably just do that part and leave off the eye, because that could be a little bit more tricky, but not too hard. And we'll also be needing a fan brush or something like a toothbrush, something to splatter with, and a bendy straw. The bendy is just good because it helps it get low to the canvas. So trying to get your mouth right down in the paint. And a little piece of chalk to do our drawing later. All right, I'm going to set those aside. We'll get those out of the way. And grab my large flat. This is the 8 bright. And I'm going to put my kind of sun or whatever right sort of in this area here. So I'm not going to draw it out because I don't want to have that blue underneath my canvas, but if you mark kind of the center, you're going to go just above and to the right of center. And we'll start there, and I'm just going to put a big splot of white in a circle. And this is going to be very kind of impressionist background. I'm not trying to make it smooth. We're just going to kind of add our brush strokes and let it sort of have some really interesting brush strokes and textures. We'll kind of try to, get a good transition between the colors, but don't get too caught up, especially at this early stage, in getting all these brush strokes exactly perfect. We can go over these later. So I'm going to grab some more white. I added some cadmium yellow there, and I'm going to mix the white in with the yellow that I've got on my brush and just kind of go over that transition area between those two. Just kind of soften that, and I'm just kind of doing like little back and forth X's with my brush so that it's sort of blending, but I am getting some little brush strokes showing, and that's kind of what I want for this one. If you wanted to get it a little smoother, you could kind of do a circular motion, and as you add more colors, just kind of continue to smooth it out. I did an owl a couple of years ago, I think, with a background with more of a smooth, oval shape. So if you wanted to see how to do it more smoothly, you can watch that one. It's a very whimsical owl. It's not my owl in the field that I did.
I'm not sure that you introduced your colors for this evening.
I did not. I'm like busy.
Just like I ain't got no time
got
for
right.
that.
I know. No, we got time for that.
Okay.
Got right into it.
Sorry. So what you got? You got white.
Titanium white.
You got black.
Cadmium yellow. I've got
yellow.
Okay.
Hold on. You got orange, red, blue,
okay.
and another blue.
Let me do it.
It's done.
Okay. Done.
White, black, yellow, orange, red, blue, and another blue.
Yep. It's purple.
Oh, purple. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, honey. You're so,
Hey,
so helpful.
that's why I'm here.
Titanium white, carbon black, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium orange, quinacridone magenta, dioxazine purple, and ultramarine blue. And really the blue is sort of redundant. You don't really need it because there's not that much showing. But, or you could even substitute the blue for the purple, really either or.
And,
all right.
And none of those are cad blue, right?
No, no cad blue.
No cad blue, no dirty
Still
white.
haven't found cad blue. No dirty white this time. We're doing really bright kind of Halloween colors. You know, we've got Halloween next Tuesday, so kind of getting in late with the last minute Halloween project. So still got enough time to do this though. And really, if you change the colors of this background, you could probably put it out, you know, longer than just Halloween. Though the raven is kind of a Halloween bird. Did the black cat, I guess, so we did one other Halloween type painting. This is about as scary as I get. This is about as creepy as I go. All right, so just as you can see, as I add another color, this is the cadmium orange. I kind of added a little bit of the yellow first with the cadmium orange to make this kind of medium color. Went around, and then I added now the cadmium orange all the way around, just kind of straight. And don't forget this little upper area here. And what I tend to do is lay down your heavier color kind of outside, just outside the area you want it to go, and then blend in just slightly once the paint is kind of off the brush. So we'll do it here with the quinacridone magenta. So we'll add that to the orange. It'll make kind of a reddish color. And then I'll go just outside this border. And then once most of that paint is off my brush, then I'll kind of go back in and lightly sort of blend over the top of that orange and lay down some textured brush strokes. That way you don't have too much paint on your brush at any one time. So I think that's one of the main problems that I see happening is that, you know, you try to blend in this way when you've got a whole lot of paint on your brush, and the paint will go farther than you want it to. It won't stay kind of back in that area where you want it. It'll get a little out of control. So you gotta kind of save the blending until you get most of the color off the brush. If that makes sense, hopefully. Ooh, super chat. Wow.
Man, I was off for a week and I still got it.
Nice. Good job, honey.
Well, thank you. That's a super chat from Mrs. Homie Brooke.
Thank you.
It says, new to your channel. And what is your color palette?
My color palette is titanium white, carbon black, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium orange, quinacridone magenta, dioxazine purple, and ultramarine blue. And then I've got some blending medium here. I haven't been using it, but if you're finding that your colors are drying too quickly and not blending very well, you can add a little bit of that glazing medium. It will help extend the paint dry time a little bit. And it just makes it blending a little bit easier. Thank you so much for your donation. Very sweet. Yeah, Mark was on vacation this week, so I had a whole week off. I didn't have to paint at all. I did not paint anything until today.
I'm on vacation and you're not working. How did that work out?
Well, I can't do my job without you here, so it just kind of worked out that way. Yeah, win-win, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so put the color all the way on. Now I have very little paint on my brush, and I'm just going to very lightly dab back over that edge and just kind of feather in some color over the top of that orange. And don't worry, if you get too much paint on there, you can always go back over it. Oops, sorry. The camera's trying to focus on my brush. There, you can always go back over it later. So this is just kind of our initial colors. I can already tell I want more of this, or this magenta color a little bit farther in. So I'm going to grab just the magenta now and pull that in over the top. Just banging on the wood there. And you'll kind of develop your own rhythm. You don't have to make yours look exactly like mine. And that's kind of the nice thing about this sort of painting, is it helps you kind of develop your own sort of natural rhythm in your painting with this brush strokes. So you'll probably end up with your brush strokes maybe all kind of leaning towards one side, or doing, you know, something a little bit different than mine. And I would just say embrace that, go with it. That's kind of your own natural style coming through. So let it happen. I'm just showing you how I do mine, but you can kind of interpret it however you'd like. Okay. Grabbing a little bit more of that orange now, kind of pulling that in just a little bit right there. All right, I think that's good. How pretty that is. I just really like the kind of choppiness. I don't know. It kind of gives it an interesting look to me. All right, I'm going to clean my brush out now because I still have that yellow tone in there, and I don't want that to get mixed up with my purple, because the purple and yellow are opposite on the color wheels, and if you mix them together, they'll make a brown. So we were okay with the, you know, until we got to the magenta, but now that we're going into the purple, we need to clean it out really well. Make sure that there's no yellow hiding down in my brush. And it is not wanting to come clean.
Got another super chat from Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn.
No message.
Okay.
But thank you so much. We appreciate your donation and all your support.
What?
And all the support.
Yes.
And so when you were applying the paints, hold on, those lights are distracting.
I know that. Well, and this keeps trying to focus. It keeps going in and out of focus tonight. Really bad.
So in between, while you're getting your paint, you're also dipping your brush in the water.
Into the water, yes.
And wetting a little bit.
Almost every time that I'm picking up paint. And that keeps your brush moist. Your paints might be moist, but if your brush is not moist, it'll soak up more paint, and the dryness in the brush will pull the moisture out of your paint, and so your paint will go on thicker. It won't be smooth, and you might have a little bit difficulty with the blending. So every time I get a little, let me pull this over so you can see it. Every time I get a little bit of paint, I'm just dipping it in just up until about where that paint is setting on my brush. So just about to right there. I'm not going all the way up to the silver part, because if I did that, it gets water trapped up in here. Every now and then, like if I'm cleaning it out, that's fine. But after I clean it, I always kind of blot it on my paper towel a little bit, just to get off the extra paint out of this area, because it'll cause your paint to be a little bit more drippy. It's a little harder to control. So if you will just kind of dip the tip of the brush into that water, every time you pick up some new paint, it'll keep your brush moisturized. You know, brush has to be moisturized just like your face. And it'll allow your paints to go a little bit more smoothly. Okay, so I've mixed the quinacridone magenta and the purple, and I'm going to pick up some white because that color is way too dark. And our crow is so dark in of itself that we don't want I've ended up having to go back over and add a little bit of light colored purple to my crow background earlier. So we'll just put it on a little bit lighter to begin with, so we don't have to do it twice. Okay, so adding that color all the way around. And it should be close to the same value, maybe a little tiny bit darker. We don't want like a lavender color, but we definitely want it to be not too dark, because the purple, if you did just straight purple, the dioxazine purple is almost like black. It's so dark. Very highly, got a very high value, and value is just how dark or light is it, art term, whatever. Very deep color, so put that over there. What are you laughing at?
Me just knocking stuff around.
I know.
I'm just kind of standing by.
You're just laughing.
Well, no, I'm standing by because I know it's coming.
Yeah, you get to blow dry tonight.
That's right.
Mark's the resident blow dryer.
Professional.
Yes, he is. Although I have yet to actually pay you anything. So, I don't know if you can call yourself professional until you get.
Oh, really?
Paid.
No.
You get paid in chili tonight. I made dinner.
Yeah, I get paid in food.
Yes.
Hashtag feed Mark.
It's been a while since we used that. That was our mantra for a while there. Okay, grabbing the blue now, adding that to that color, so it's kind of creating a little bit more bluish purple tone. And putting that in that far corner there. And a little bit on this side too, right in here. Tiny bit up there. Okay, so I can already tell that the transition right here between these two colors is too drastic. It looks very like dark and then boom. So I'm gonna kind of work my way from the center back out again and give it a second coat, and we'll pull that orange a little bit closer to the center. Leave a little bit more room for our pink to be in this area. Okay, trying to get that clean. It's not wanting to come out. I changed out my water jar. By the way, if you want a new water jar, this is the red grapefruit Del Monte. It works great. It does. Because
it's plastic and it's not so clangy.
It's not as clangy. It's not making that ding 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 noise every time I try to clean, but it's got these little ridges off the side, so it actually kind of helps to be able to sort of clean the brush out. But I probably should have just gotten a new brush. It's kind of like cooking show. I just need to set that one aside and grab a clean brush, but too late. All right, grabbing some white, grabbing some of the yellow. There we go. And start in the center again. Brighten up that center part right there with a little bit extra white. Grab some yellow, go around it. Now this area is really fine on mine. It didn't need a whole lot of second coat, but I'm just giving this a chance to dry. So, and here I'm going to pull the orange in a little closer to the sun. So we'll go a little bit closer to that yellow area with that mixture of yellow and orange. And I'm going to grab the yellow again and do just in between. Grab a little bit of water. There we go. With this, you really want to keep your, one of the mistakes that that I see made is people adding too much water to their paint at this point. When you've got your paints real thick like this, you don't want to add water to them. What are you doing? Was that a mistake?
I was trying to let you finish.
Okay, well, I've got a while to go. So.
That wasn't too indiscreet, was it?
No.
Thanks to Carolyn for her donation super chat. It says, I love your tutorials and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
All right, go ahead back and talk about painting stuff.
All right. Well, I was just saying that when you're working with thicker paints like this, with the wet on wet technique, the wet refers to the paints being wet. Each paint, this paint here is, and the paint on your brush are both wet at the same time, so you're kind of blending in. But you don't want to add water to the mix, because what water does is it'll pull the paint right off the canvas. It dilutes the, I don't know, it's just not, I don't know why it does it, but it does. So you don't want to add watery paint to a thick paint mixture while you're working with it, because it will be bad news. That's why you've probably seen me drop water, accidentally drop a water drop onto the canvas and then, wipe it off, and then it'll end up with a little white dot wherever that paint landed. So just be aware of that. Add water to your brush, but not so much that it's going to drip and get, make your canvas real soupy. All right, and a little bit of white to this, just to soften up that kind of reddish orange and quinacridone magenta mixture. Maybe, yeah, that'll be good. A little hair on here. Just going to take my time on this background, get it right, because the Raven honestly did not take any time. It's basically a silhouette that we kind of jazzed up a little bit with some splattering. So it's very, very easy.
Is he going to have jazz wings?
Definitely. Jazz hands.
Jazz wings.
Jazz wings. Caca. Oh my gosh. We're so weird. What was that from? That was from some Will Arnett weird TV show that only lasted a few weeks.
Yeah.
And he had a pet,
send a signal.
He had a pet hawk or something. Okay, you're going to get to this point. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this looks like a hot mess. It definitely does look like a hot mess, but we'll fix it. We'll get it there. We're pulling in the center, so that's why it kind of looks weird right here. So just pulling it in a little closer to the center. Got a little happy with my yellow. Okay. A little bit more quinacridone and that white. Yeah, we're getting it. This is going to cover up that orange layer, so it'll make it look a little bit better. Really, if I did it right the first time, you wouldn't have to do this again. If I'd put it a little closer to the center. So this is honestly just personal preference. It was fine the way it was. It was just, I want a little bit more of this pink color. So.
Okay, do you know what a cat tongue brush is?
It's a Filbert. Yeah.
It's a Filbert.
It's the same thing as a Filbert.
Just that's right.
Rounded tip.
That's right, because I posted a human tongue.
What?
I remember that question from a few months ago.
Oh.
And being who I am, I took a picture of my tongue and put it on the end of a paintbrush
kidding
thing.
me?
Yeah, you saw it.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, you rolled your eyes then too and sighed. just like
just
now.
like I just did.
Yeah. So same reaction.
Same reaction. I'm sorry, folks. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry for whoever had to see that. Mark's tongue was just wrong. Okay. Grabbing a little bit of white here, mixing it with my pink. Okay. Much better. Clean that up. Still got a real, it's weird, like the camera is making this whole thing. We have to change our color settings again because this whole red part just looks like a big red blob. It doesn't have any, it's kind of glowing on the screen. I don't know if it's like that on the monitor, but alright, so I'm going to grab the pink and a little bit of white, quinacridone magenta I should say, a little bit of that purple. I cleaned out my brush so that I didn't have any yellow on it. And we'll do our purple layer a little closer to the center as well. Here and there.
You got a couple of shout outs for your nails also.
Thank you. I'm going goth today. This is the goth look. I figured it was appropriate. This is about the only time of year I can get away with the black nail polish, so you gotta pull it out.
Well, you could do it anytime.
Well, I could, but not without, I don't know. My friends already think I'm weird enough, so blue's about as weird as I feel safe to go on a normal day. Okay, so adding this kind of soft blue purple color here. Added a little bit of water to my brush. Here we go. Definitely still need to kind of blend over this transition right here between these two colors, so it's still not quite as soft as I want it to be. So we're just going to keep working at it until we get it right, until we get it the way we want it. A little bit more blue and a tiny bit of white. And here again, I'm starting with the dark color, kind of where I want it to be brightest, and then feathering it over the top of the other areas, kind of lightly going back and forth to kind of get those to blend together a little bit. And I need a little bit more of my quinacridone magenta.
AKA red.
Not red, it's magenta.
Okay, sorry,
It's a bright
magenta.
pink. You could use red though. I mean, red would be fine. It just wouldn't be as pink.
We don't have anything against red.
No. I just like the magenta because it's a much more vibrant color, and I was going for kind of brightness with this. I wanted that kind of bright, glowing feeling since the raven's so dark. It's a good contrast, having the real bright, kind of cheerful colors against the dark black raven. Okay, so I've got the quinacridone in white, and I'm going to go, there we go. Right in here. idea is just to kind of transition these two colors together so that they're a little bit softer. So I'm just kind of lightly going over that border between the two colors and then pulling the slightly dry brush over the top of the purple to kind of blend it in a little bit. And I'm always kind of checking because it can be hard to keep your circle, looking circular. So I'm always kind of checking to make sure that I'm not getting it a little off. What the tendency is to make it look like an oval, like a teardrop shape, because this side is cut off. So make sure that you're bringing this in enough so that it's completing that circle. And try to kind of keep your layers about the same thickness all the way around. So I can bring this out a little bit up here to get it to match this side. Okay, there we go. Now a little bit of the purple. Mix with that. And then we'll do the purple color between the purple and the pink. And the nice thing about doing these other layers underneath is we're still kind of seeing a little bit of those popping through. So it'll give us a little kind of an interesting layered effect. You can see a little bit of the yellows in here and some of these other colors. And like I said, you may not have to do this. It depends on how how well you did your first pass through with the blending. You may get all the way around and just decide that you like it. So I'm only doing this because I felt like I wanted a little bit more of the pink showing. Okay, there we go. Now I'm liking that. I've got a good soft blend between these. You can't really see a fine, like a hard line in there. If I do, I can kind of go back over it just a little bit until it sort of looks like more softened. Like that, okay? And now this area right here. Clean that out, get all that purple out of there. Grab my orange. And a little bit of that quinacridone and some white. Create that kind of soft salmon color. Maybe a little bit more of the magenta than the orange. There we go. So we're just going to soften up that red layer just a little bit because it was kind of bright.
Blending and blending.
Lots of blending, lots of blending. Somebody was saying that though, that this is one of their things that they struggle with. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with acrylics, just because they dry so quickly. So one of the things I did want to say was, like, this area here is starting to dry, so I wouldn't mess with it. That's why I started from the center and worked my way back out instead of working, back in this way when I was wanting to add a little bit more of the orange or the pink to the center, because acrylics will get sticky when they start to dry. So you don't want to mess with the layers that are drying. So I wouldn't want to go and try to add more color to that right now because it's starting to dry. So I've added a little bit more white and a little bit more of the orange now to this color. It's going to give it a kind of a softer peach tone. A little bit more of that orange. Putting the brightest color where I want it first, right off the bat. So I want my brightest one right there, and then I'm going to work out from there once I get my paint mostly off the brush. Bright color right there, and then very lightly feather it in and out. Okay, we're getting there. Grab that yellow. It's mixing with the orange on my brush. Get a little bit of water.
Okay, somebody doesn't have the black that you're using. Will Mars black work?
Oh yeah, Mars black is fine. Any black. You will want a watery black though for the crow. If you want to do the splattering, I guess you could add water to your heavy body acrylics though. But if you've got like a craft black, like a craft paint that's black, or a gold and fluid acrylics, that's what I'm going to be using. It'll make it a little bit easier to work with than the heavy body acrylics. Then you won't have to thin it out at all. It'll already be thin enough. You just want a fluid color so that it'll flow off when you blow on it. Make splatters and all that. Okay, I still don't like this because it's still like a little too bright right there. So I'm going to add a little bit more pink to that and we'll be done. What?
I was going to say, so Sharpie black would work?
No. Well, I don't like... I mean, unless you're doing it with kids or something like that, Sharpie will tends to fade if you get it in light. So, I mean, it is waterproof. You can work it with acrylics with it, but it...
Well, you took that joke to a whole serious level there.
Sorry. I know you were joking, but... That's why you're the comic relief, because I'm a little bit more...
Well, I don't know about
serious.
either of those terms, but...
Okay. Quinacridone, a little bit of white. I think I added a little too much white the last time, so just maybe a little bit of white. Wipe most of that off. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so now going over that layer with that light pink and just kind of blending these two together, and they should blend out. Yeah, see how the difference between that and like that, how this kind of looks like a ring, a halo ring. So I'm trying to kind of get more of a gradual blend there. That was just a little bit too bright. So we're just going back over it now that it's dry with just a slightly, maybe one shade darker with this quinacridone and white. Okay, there we go. That'll do it. I like it.
Man, if you're just paid by the brush stroke, we'd be millionaires. I know.
It's brush, brush, brush.
Back and forth, back and forth.
Yep. It is. It's a lot of back and forth. That's for sure. All right. Grab a little bit of the purple here with the quinacridone and just kind of doing another little bit of the purple violet quinacridone purple mixture there. Add a tiny bit of white. Okay, we're good. Wow, we did 40 minutes for just the background.
Film that in slow-mo for everybody.
Okay, I'm going to let you have that dry real quick. And, oh, if I can reach it, I'll grab my stick man. We'll give him a little raven flying around. He is our little mascot. Mark drew him, and we add something to him every show. So we'll give him a little raven. Flying around for Halloween. There we go. Cute. Yeah, we add whatever it is we've been painting that week. So he got a little pink ribbon for the dove. And what did we do before that? I don't know. There's the cowboy boot, the barn, bridge, gate. It's almost time for a new one. What did we do last time? I guess it was the dove. Mark is still working. Okay, if you notice that my the paint that I used here, the carbon black, it's very glossy. So if you don't want it to look like that, you can use a like the Mars black or another black that does not have that kind of sheen to it. Because I did notice it kind of left some little pooled areas. But once you varnish the whole thing, then it'll even out that any kind of differences between the shininess. Thank you, honey. Okay, well, I didn't mean to take 40 minutes for the background. I said this is going to be a short one, but now it's like it took way longer than I had intended for the background. Okay, so for the raven, if you took it and split it in thirds, right? And then split it in thirds again this way, would be right there. That's kind of our top third. So I want the head to be right in that area. So I'm going to kind of draw that in. It's sort of rounded at the top. And then angles down. Use a light towel there. Can you see it? Hopefully. Okay. Okay. So the beak on the crow, it's almost like it's got like a little, you know, like a hooked nose, like that. So the head kind of comes back like that, and then there's a hook beak, and then the bottom part kind of comes straight back toward the head, and then there's just a slight curve right here, and it comes down into the body, and then the wings start very, very close to the head. So really right in here, you're going to angle your wings out this way to kind of fit the corners of the, you can zoom out a little bit and so they can see where I'm pointing to. Okay. So I'm wanting my wings to fill up this area here. So I'm going to curve this one up and out and then point it towards this bottom corner. And then the underside of the wings is going to kind of curve up this way and then sort of come straight out. Then this other side is, if you kind of did a diagonal straight across, this other side is going to come up from the head and curve out and do a little notch on that side and then back and angle back towards this corner. And then it will also curve in. So and then the back of the crow is kind of arched a little bit. Yeah, I think this is hard to see. Arched, and then the tail kind of comes out this way. It's very sleek, so don't the head and the body are not that much, different. So don't go much wider with the body than the head. Maybe a little bit wider there, and then the feet kind of hook around the bottom. All right, so let's fill that in. I'm going to grab my 3/8 inch angle brush and a little bit of that carbon black, and I'm just going to quickly fill in my raven. And really, this is probably the hardest part. Just kind of getting it on there evenly. I find that if I turn the canvas so that I'm pulling from left to right, that I can get kind of a smoother line, and I can see sort of where I'm painting at to keep my line straight. So I kind of do the outline and then I fill it in. Let me do the beak here. And this upper part of the wing is smooth, but the bottom part is obviously going to be kind of choppy and jagged. So what I'm going to do is stop well before I want the wings to end. So I'm going to paint the wings about 3/4 of the way in, and then the rest of it's going to be the splatters and streaks and all that good stuff. So I'm going to kind of paint this in the direction that I want the wing. Oh goodness, lifted off that paint right there. Came right off on my thumb. I must have paint on my thumb. Add a little bit of water. Upside down. Let me turn him back around here so you can see what he looks like. And really, the bottom of the head actually kind of curves in like this to the beak, so it's a little bit more streamlined right there. And then this part is gonna curve up, and all of the wings are going to kind of point up toward this area. So as it kind of comes around like this, these ones are going to kind of come straight this way, and then as they go out, they're going to kind of start to turn and go out this way. So keep that in mind when you're painting your wings in. You want to kind of turn them like in that direction so that they're pointing in the right direction. Using that edge of my brush to get a nice straight line, and then I can kind of pull down from there and fill it in. And putting in these, I'm putting in these like feathers in the direction that they're supposed to grow, so that if there's any like space or color in between or anything like that, that'll look like we meant to do that. It'll be part of the painting. Look intentional, and we won't have to go in and fix anything later. Okay, do that. We'll do our little feet, claws, whatever that is there. The claws, right?
Sounds good to me. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Talons, claws.
Talons, there we go. Oh, speaking of talons, we have a predatory bird in our backyard. It's a hawk?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He was stalking our bird feeder today when we went out there after before the show, and Mark was like, I think I saw a hawk out there on the ground, but I don't see him now. And he was hiding in the tree right beside our bird feeders. As soon as Mark walked out, he flew off.
Well, Well, I went.
You're like, no hawks here.
Yeah, I was walking by and I saw a bird on the ground, and I thought it was a pigeon at first.
Right.
And then I was like, that doesn't have the same feathers, and noticed it was a hawk. And then he kind of jumped up and flew around, and we have, was it honeysuckle?
Mm-hmm.
Near the feeder well, there was a cardinal in the honeysuckle vines.
He was trying to get to.
And he was trying to get to.
Yeah.
And then then the hawk kind of disappeared. And then when we went outside, he was waiting for him in the tree, waiting for him to come out.
Sneaky.
I was wondering why we weren't getting so many birds at the feeders
I
anymore.
know. I know.
That explains
They're
it.
being terrorized.
Yeah. Kind of like a buffet right there.
Yeah, all you can eat. Just wait long enough, and they're gonna come right to you. Kind of like the cat. Cat does the same thing. Well, you think they're onto the cat. Okay, I'm gonna put out my fluid acrylics now, so I can get some thinner paint to work with to splatter. And I'm gonna add a little bit of water to them with this angle brush. And I'm going to turn this over. We'll hope this works on camera because I haven't. Be interesting to see. I'm going to kind of do sort of dot on thick, very thick and watery paint. When I say thick, I mean heavy application, not thick texture. But I want a lot of paint on there so that it's got plenty of space to move. And I'm going to use my straw and get real close and low and blow. I can add a little water to this. That's why it's not moving very good. It's making noise. It's wanting to whistle.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, it gives it a really cool effect. I think it's really fun for Halloween. All right, so I'm gonna take the water off that brush, get a little bit more on there, and just dab that on and mix that in with my fluid acrylics there. I definitely want something coming out here. So I'm gonna kind of lead it where I want it to go, kind of start the line, and they'll actually kind of follow them a little bit if you do that. So just kind of start out a few little things there and then put a little extra water or paint right behind that where you want that to go. There we go. There. Nice. Like it. Isn't that neat? Okay, so I might want a little bit more right there. So I'm going to do a little bit more right here. And I'm going to blow it in this direction to give it like just another little unexpected something different. Okay, let's do some more over here. I'm going to tap off most of that water so I'm not adding extra water to my paint over here on this side. Let's do this side. This is so fun. I don't care how old you are. This is fun. I'm sure you've done this in school a long time ago. But I think this is one that kids would really like. And you could do the background solid. You didn't have to do it that as complicated as I did. So if you were doing this with kids, you could, maybe limit it to 2 colors and just let them kind of splatter or, paint it on. And then do the crow so that they don't lose interest. Love it. Not fun. Love that look. Okay.
That is pretty sweet, I must say.
I do like it. I'm excited. You want to do some? You want to try it? can do it.
I can do it?
Yeah.
All right, hold on a second.
Okay, I'll put it on for you, and you can just make sure you're angling the straw in the right direction where you want it to go. So
How about if you just angle the painting?
angle the painting for you?
I'll blow. And
Okay.
You just angle the painting on the straw.
Okay. All right, we'll try it. There you go. Nice. Very good. Thanks, honey.
Well, thank you.
All right, and now I'm going to change the direction a little bit, so you can kind of go in and go against the natural curve and get some little side thingies going on.
I'm a little lightheaded right now.
I know. A little bit like blowing up a balloon.
Make sure you're sitting down when you're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get some started over here where I want some other ones to go. Get a little bit more paint out there. And here again, I ended the tail quite a bit before I wanted it to be ended. So that way I had plenty of room for these little splatters to go. A little bit off. Okay. There we go. Okay. I like it. All right, so now the only thing left to do is our splatters. I'm going to take my fan brush. You can use a toothbrush too or whatever, and add a little bit extra water to the paint. It's already pretty watery though, so I don't need to do a whole lot. And I'm going to tap it in the direction that I want my splatters to go, so that it looks like it's kind of coming off the brush at an angle. So I'm going to hold it at a little bit of an angle and look, what a mess. I got it everywhere.
Yeah, after she did her example painting, she came out and she's like, "Do I have paint on my face?"
I think I got it on my face earlier.
From all the splattering.
So if I'm kind of angling it this way, it's going to create my splatters going in that direction. That's kind of what I'm going for. Okay, and then I'm going to just tap in some straight circles a few places, and then up here, up in the upper corner, a few splatters. And they'll naturally get in that yellow area, so you really don't have to go over the top unless you maybe go real high. And yeah, there we go. Okay, good, good, good. And then what I did is I just kind of blotted off a little bit in this upper corner. I got my towel wet a little bit, and then I just sort of blotted so that this upper corner kind of had a little bit softer, almost like sponged in a couple places. So it was a little bit softer. You can leave it, as harsh as you want it to be, but I'm going to leave that there. Okay, so I forgot I did not do the eye. I was supposed to do that first. I think I can do it. Now, I decided to add the eye. If you're doing this with kids, I probably would not do the eye. Well, I don't know. It's not that hard, but it just depends on what their age is and skill level. So I'm grabbing a little bit of white and I'm mixing it with my black there to create a gray, soft gray. And I'm going to do sort of the center of the beak a little bit brighter. So the center line of the beak, it kind of does this frowny face, so it kind of does like that. And then the eye is right kind of just forward of center. So if you kind of split that in half, it's just forward of that center mark and just above the split, the middle of the beak. So I'm gonna zoom in there a little bit for the eye, I think. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Yeah. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more white. So I just kind of did a rough circle for where the eye was supposed to go. And I'm getting a little bit more white and doing like another, like a lighter gray. And I'm just going to do a little bit of highlight on the top of the eye, just 2 little dashes. And then the top of the beak, I can give it a little something, like a little tiny line, like that. And then if you get too much, you can grab a little bit of black and sort of soften it up, sort of like that. I think that's good enough. And I'm going to grab my Filbert and use that color, that same gray, that darker gray, and I'm going to create a little bit of indication of where these wings sort of are moving. And this is totally optional, but I just added a little bit extra detail, and also it kind of helped blend out my lines in my paint between the splatters and the black here. So just adding a little bit of wing detail. And I'm just kind of setting it down and sort of pulling toward this line, right? And I'll have a reference photo that I'm using on my Patreon page. And the traceable for this as well. So if you're interested in a traceable, that will be, the traceables are all available for $1 a month, and you get all the traceables that I've done since February, plus any new ones in that month. So just a few little brush strokes and maybe a couple of lines across the back there. That one I want going this way, over the head. And maybe a few in the tail section too. It's very, very, very dark. Like it's not, it's maybe 1 or 2 shades lighter than, it's just barely visible against this black. You don't want it too bright. You don't want it to look like he's outlined or something. You just want it very subtle, a little bit of detail. Kind of add to the overall effect. And like I said, if you get a little too much, like I think right there, maybe right here, I'm going to go back in with my black. Just dab in a little bit more black in a couple areas. Make sure it's nice and dark. And that's it. Let me use my wet towel here and very lightly wipe off my chalk lines. There we go. Let me sign it real quick and we'll call it good. Oh, I forgot to sign my example one earlier. There we go. I'm using the Pigma Fine brush pen, and I've got a link for that down in the description as well. So if you want to pick one of those up, they're really good for signing your work because they don't fade like the Sharpies do. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you try this, and if you do, you can share it with me on all my social media. Give it a thumbs up, like it, subscribe, and if you haven't joined already, you can ask to join my Thankful Art group on Facebook, where you can share these artworks with me and also get art chats and things like that. I do weekly updates there. So you can, the link for that is also down in the description. All right. I will see you Saturday. We're going to be doing some herbs. It should be fun. It'll be like dried herbs, lavender, and some things hanging upside down.
We're going to be painting them.
We're going to be painting. Yeah, right. We're not going to be doing them, herbs.
We're not going to be doing herbs. Just to clarify that. Be
Good catch, honey.
You're welcome. Not a problem.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.